We are now traveling towards Sundsvall city, about 390 kilometers north of Stockholm. The drive towards the north is never boring. Scenic routes with mountains, rivers, lakes and green nature during summer always gives you a pleasant feeling and an exciting drive. Sundsvall is one of the city in the Medelpad province, which is actually a historical province in the north of Sweden. And Sundsvall has a population of around 51,000 people. The town was chartered on 1621. The city has burned down and been rebuilt 4 times. In 1888, on 25th June, strong wind and dry conditions contributed to 2 city fires in Sweden in the same day. On this day, both Yeeaaah and Sundsvall caught fire. The Sundsvall fire was the largest in Sweden's history. After the fire, and unlike Yeeaaah, the decision was to rebuild using stone. Sundsvall center was later nicknamed as Stenstaden, which means the stone city. The view with lakes and mountains is just breathtaking. We are almost approaching our cottage here in Sundsvall. ഹലോ, ഞങ്ങളിപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റോക്ക്ഹോമിൽ നിന്ന് ഡ്രൈവ് ചെയ്ത് സുൻസ്വാളിൽ നമ്മൾ താമസിക്കുന്ന സ്റ്റൂഗയിലെത്തി. സ്റ്റൂഗ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇവിടുത്തെ സമ്മർ ഹൗസ് ആണ്. ഭയങ്കര ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ വ്യൂ ആണ്. ആക്ച്വലി കണ്ടാൽ തന്നെ അറിയാം, നമ്മൾക്കൊരു വാം വെൽക്കം തന്ന പോലെയാണ്, ലേക്ക് സൈഡ് എല്ലാം കൂടി ആക്ച്വലി. സോ നമ്മളിവിടെ കുറച്ച് കവർ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്, ഇവിടെ 2 ദിവസം താമസിക്കുന്നുണ്ട് ആക്ച്വലി. സോ ഞങ്ങളിപ്പം സ്റ്റൂഗയിലേക്ക് കടക്കാൻ പോവുകയാണ്. The cottage is just in front of the lake. The doors open to the beautiful lake view. And we had a rowboat of our own to explore. There was a trampoline on the middle of the lake that the kids could enjoy. This view was simply awesome and breathtaking. It was a typical Swedish summer cottage. I was really enjoying the fresh air and the sunset. It was a fantabulous landscape there. ഹലോ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, ഞാനിപ്പോൾ നിൽക്കുന്നത് സുൻസ്വാളിലെ ഒരു കൺട്രി സൈഡിൽ നമ്മളുടെ സമ്മർ സ്റ്റേയിൻ്റെ കോട്ടേജ് പ്രെമിസസിലാണ്. ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ലേക്ക് സൈഡ്, ഇറ്റ്സ് എ വെരി ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ വ്യൂ. ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ 2 ദിവസം താമസിക്കാൻ വന്നതാണ്. സോ ഇന്നത്തെ എപ്പിസോഡിൽ നമ്മൾ കവർ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത് സുൻസ്വാളിലെ കഥകളാണ്. Sundsvall is a city in Sweden which actually started the industrial era in Sweden. ഭയങ്കര ഹിസ്റ്റോറിക്കൽ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ് ഉള്ള ഒരു സിറ്റിയാണ് Sundsvall. And Sundsvall city was actually rebuilt 4 times. 4 പ്രാവശ്യം this was destroyed by the fire. Different types of fire. ആദ്യത്തെ പ്രാവശ്യം destroy ആയത് റഷ്യൻ ആർമി വഴിയാണ്. So this was built 4 times. അപ്പോൾ സുൻസ്വാളിലെ കഥകളാണ് ഇന്നത്തെ എപ്പിസോഡിൽ ഞങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് അരുണ് നമ്മുടെ ഈ എപ്പിസോഡിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല. ഹീസ് ഔട്ട് ഓഫ് സ്വീഡൻ. ബട്ട് ഐ ഹാവ് എ കോ ഹോസ്റ്റ് വിത്ത് മീ, none other than my daughter Nandini. Hello everyone. So welcome to yet another beautiful episode of Sweden Stories on Yeeaaah, the online entertainment channel. അല്ല, ഞങ്ങൾ തായ്ലൻഡിലൊന്നുമല്ല നിൽക്കണത്, സ്വീഡനിൽ തന്നെയാണ്. സുൻസ്വാളിലെ ഒരു കൊച്ചു തായ്ലൻഡാണ് ഈ കാണുന്നത്.
Amma, doesn't this look like the Thai temples which we saw in Bangkok?
Yeah, it's exactly the same, Appu. Actually, ഇത് സുൻസ്വാളിലെ ഒരു തായ്ലൻഡ് പവലിയൻ എന്ന് പറയും. സോ കിങ് ചോല ലോങ്കോങ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള തായ് കിങ് ഇവിടെ വിസിറ്റ് ചെയ്തപ്പം സുൻസ്വാൾ വളരെയധികം ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു. അതിൻ്റെ മെമ്മോറിയലായിട്ട് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തേക്കുന്ന ഒരു തായ് പവലിയനാണിത്. ആക്ച്വലി ശരിക്കും തായ്ലൻഡും ബാങ്കോക്കൊക്കെ വിസിറ്റ് ചെയ്തവർക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും, ഇറ്റ്സ് കൺസ്ട്രക്റ്റഡ് ഇൻ എക്സാക്ട്ലി ദ സെയിം വേ ആസ് എ ടെമ്പിൾസ് ഇൻ തായ്ലൻഡ്. വെരി ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ ആൻഡ് നൈസ് പ്രെമിസസ്. കുറച്ച് നേരം വന്നിരിക്കാൻ സ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റിയ ഒരു സ്ഥലമാണ്. സോ നമുക്ക് എൻ്റെ പ്രെമിസസിലൂടെ യാത്ര പോകാം. The construction of the building started in 1997. And it was inaugurated in almost a year in 1998. At the 101st anniversary of King Chola Longkong's visit here. The building, as said, is in the style of a royal Thai pavilion, with a surface of 10 by 10 meters and a height of 28 meters. The roof was supported by 24 pillars in white concrete. Around the building, it has 4 entrances. The pavilion is adorned with gold leaf ornamentation with a value of 3 million Swedish kronor or 14 million Thai baht. Inside was a statue of the king himself, with offerings seen to be made by the visitors here. We are at the biggest square in Sundsvall.
Hello friends, this is Stora Torget.
Wait, Amma, isn't there Stora Torget in Stockholm too?
Yes Nandini, there is one Stora Torget in Stockholm too. Actually same meaning aanu varunathu. Stora Torget ennaanu Stockholm lullana parayunnathu, and that has the same meaning, which is like grand square alanga big square. So Sundsvallile biggest public square aanadu Stora Torget.
Oh, what statue is that?
I think it's written there, Nandini. It's Gustav II Adolf's statue actually, and he is the founder of the city.
And the four sides are surrounded by historical buildings. The first one, the Stadhuset or the City Hall, which has a big veranda and has a grand restaurant run by the Briners. The second popular one being the Hirschska Huset. This building was built in the years of 1890 to 1891 after the devastating Sundsvall fire in 1888. The Wangavan Park with the Wangavan Fountain. The park with its fountain, built at the end of the 19th century, was one of the first places with public decoration in Sweden and was laid out on the old lake bottom. After the Sundsvall fire in 1888, Wangavan was damaged and the surrounding buildings were destroyed. Later, with the donations to expand Sundsvall, the old lake was actually converted into a beautiful park to walk in, and the fountain was built in the middle of the park. Designed by the city's daughter, Sofia Gersberg. The fountain's sculpture is a monument to a rapidly expanding Sundsvall during the second half of the 19th century. Gustav Adolf's Church. This is a church built in the neo-Gothic style in Sundsvall. The church was previously named after Lucia Ulrika, but it was renamed to the current one in 1955. Built in 1894, and a rebuild was done in 1952. The architect was Gustav Hermansson and the builder was Per Johan Pettersson. The church tower reaches a height of 81 meters. The church was actually decorated very beautifully with decorative paintings both in the choir walls and in the walls' ribs and arcs, and had an altar piece with Christ in the middle. On October 1st, 1988, the church was ravaged by a fire which led to a major damage to the interior. Galstrom is an old ironworks dating from the 17th century in Sundsvall Municipality. The mill was built in 1673 by Magnus Blix. In 1686, the mill consisted of 2 hammers located near the blast furnace. The ironworks was closed down on 17 January 1916 and the sawmill closed in 1919. At the end of 19th century, this was Medelpad's largest industrial facility.
Hello, this is Galstrom's Brook. Dating from the 17th century, this has a mill which was doing ironworks. This is Medelpad province oldest, largest and the last ironworks. Actually still ividuthe blast furnace, rust area ellam preserve cheyidittunde. We can still see that actually. And the premise is also very beautiful. It's a very old mill, 1673 lana form cheyidadu.
Amma, do you know 163 tons of iron was produced here every year and they were shipped to Stockholm?
Oh wow, that's a lot.
333 people in 84 households lived at the mill in 1870. In 1929, the mill was acquired by its current owner, Svenska Cellulosa AB, which soon made a first refurbishment of buildings and facilities. As the mill is one of the country's best preserved, it was designated in 1987 as a national interest for the preservation of cultural heritage. During Sweden's Great Power era in the 17th century, iron production became an increasingly important political economic factor. In Bergslagen, there was already a tradition of iron production, but when the supply of coal played an increasing role, the construction of new mills in Norrland was encouraged. It was easier to transport the ore to the energy source than the other way around. Many ironworks were built until the beginning of the 19th century. The mill was badly ravaged during the Russians' advance along the northern coast in 1721. But the destroyed buildings were already rebuilt in 1723. Both at the end of the 18th century and during the 19th century, the mill expanded and operations increased. In 1780, a manufactory was built. In the 1860s, a railway was added within the area of use. And in the 1870s, a new method for iron production, the Lancashire smithy, was introduced, which meant an improvement of the freshening method. We came back to the stuga in between to take some rest. The kids really didn't want to get into any rest mode. They were enjoying the trampoline, surrounded by water, jumping up and down continuously, while we were enjoying the rowboat.
Hello, ഇത് Dodda Forest, turning in dead forms. Actually, the glacial debris had blocked the course of river Indus Valley for like about thousands of years. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഒരു മെൽറ്റ് വേ 25 കിലോമീറ്റർ മെൽറ്റ് വേ ഇവിടെ ഫോം ആയി. ആ മെൽറ്റ് വേ വാട്ടറായിട്ട് എന്താ പറയുക ഫ്ലോ ചെയ്തതാണ് ഇവിടുത്തെ ലേക്ക്, ഈ പുറകിൽ കാണുന്ന വെട്ടിക്കിടക്കുന്ന ലേക്ക്. So it was about 25 kilometers of lake. So what happened was, there was a canal which was created here, and then a flood happened here, and during that flood, the whole water was rerouted through this canal which was constructed by mistake here. It was a big mistake to create that canal here, and the whole water in the 25-kilometer lake was like emptied in 4 hours in Laparina. So this was one of the biggest disaster here. This waterfalls was one of the most impressive waterfalls in Sweden and Navarre. And then this natural disaster really made this like a deadfall. But this whole area is really beautiful to see. So that's Dodda Forest.
The Merlot slot or Villa Merlot, that is the building's real name, is a grand fairy tale castle-like house built in between 1883 and 1885 as a summer residence for the timber owner and merchant Fredrik Bundsau, at this time one of Sweden's most powerful businessmen. The architects were Isaac Gustav Claesen and Fritz Eckert. The former is known as the architect behind buildings such as Nordiska Museet Stockholm. സ്വീഡൻ സ്റ്റോറീസിന്റെ ഈ എപ്പിസോഡ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. അടുത്ത എപ്പിസോഡിൽ വീണ്ടും ഒരു എക്സൈറ്റിംഗ് ആൻഡ് ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ സ്റ്റോറിയായി ഞങ്ങൾ വീണ്ടും എത്തുന്നതായിരിക്കും. അതുവരേക്കും ഇറ്റ്സ് Sajani and Nandini signing off from Sweden Stories on Yeeaaah, the online entertainment channel. Hey though.